In this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the astral field and astral traveling and how this could be dangerous for some people and how the traditional ways of perceiving astral traveling can actually harm some people depending on their scope of consciousness. So if you're interested, please keep watching. Hello, beautiful starseeds. Welcome to Starseed Energetics. My name is Ashtara, mission to bring you some of the highest frequency content. And in this video, we're going to go into purification of the truth around astral traveling and astral fields. And I believe this is one of the most misrepresented understandings in the spiritual community. And I'm happy to help clarify from my personal experience and why astral traveling is not necessarily good for some people. If you are new to this channel and if you just found this video out of nowhere, this is a part of a 24-day series of transmissions that I'm helping advanced starseeds and hybrid extraterrestrials navigate through human concepts and human life on Earth. What a lot of people don't understand about astral traveling or astral field is that it primarily takes place around fourth and lower fifth dimensions, and it's not necessarily as spiritually aligned as a lot of people think it is. Of course, it can be done. The dangers of just freely roaming around this astral field is that your distortions and egoic templates can go along with you, and it is just full of a soup and this entire unconscious remnants of this polaric interface of the third dimension. So whatever distortions that third dimensional manifestations hold, they kind of have a relative bridge through the astral realm. And I'm not sure why astral traveling is so hyped up, but I want to share with you some experiences that you can travel or align with higher dimensions rather than the astral realm. So to make this relatively relatable, I want to talk to you about some experiences that I've had naturally, the spiritual experiences that I had to commune with other dimensions. So one of the biggest myths around the astral field, obviously, is that when people die, when humans die, there's this procedure. So a lot of spiritual communities will stress about there's a light tunnel, there's like an astral tunnel that you go through, and you get to meet with all your guides, your angels, and then you go into the next realm. And that couldn't be further away from the truth from my personal near-death experiences, where I literally died and came back twice. So one of them took place when I was around 18 years old, and the next one took place around 27 years old. It was either 27 or 28. And in both of those cases, I did not go through any astral fields. I plugged straight into dimensional realities that were absolutely incomprehensible to the way that we make sense of reality. So I literally popped in. There was no tunnel. I literally popped in, and it's almost like these involuntary moments of samadhi, or these moments where I burst into this field of light. That's kind of what happened during my near-death experiences. So when I was 18, I popped into a complete entire dimension of what would be considered as geometry from our perspective, but it's not the type of geometry that you could possibly imagine here, because it was outstretched into infinity. The color spectrums were monochromatic, so there was no specific colors. So I believe this was a dimension that transcends colors, like individuations of colors. And I had this kind of like 360 vision where my peripheral vision was completely active simultaneously. So it wasn't like a linear vision, whereas our eyeballs, in this case of humans, point directly towards a field of vision, but it was like a 360, and there was no plugging through an astral field. And I believe that perhaps that is essentially what does happen for most humans. Maybe they go through an astral realm, but I'm here to represent the small minority of souls whose energetic fields are not really wired through the fourth dimension. They're not necessarily wired through the astral field. but they just have like a direct connection to higher dimensions rather than the fourth and lower fifth. And then the second time that I had a near-death experience, I was literally vacuumed up into the great central sun, and that's the closest word I can imagine saying. I knew that was like the source field of frequency, source light or source star. It just would be like our sun, but just a billion times more powerful. And I was with every fiber and cell and every remnant of my energy. And that was my second near-death experience. Again, that was not a tunnel. That was not an astral field with angels and nothing like that. It was the great central sun. In that, I just was disintegrating into that star, and then I actually came back with a new kind of energetic field. And that's what happened. So I'm sharing all of this to share my experiences of how I know that not all of us are plugged through the astral field, and that you have an option to bypass that level to resonate in higher dimensions. Another example that I can share is like when I was in a 10-day Vipassana retreat. This is a very intensive silent meditation retreat in an ashram, in a very strict setting where you have access to nothing else but your own consciousness. And my state of mind heightened so much that when I would go to sleep at night, I wouldn't fall asleep like normally fall asleep, but I would slowly feel my awareness spread out and kind of expand into a field of light, like a field of light, like a grid of light through the entire environment that I was in, like this little small room. I would just evaporate into this grid, and I would just simply be aware and resonating on that level of dimension. And that's definitely not the astral field either. It's kind of similar to the first near-death experience, except it was more localized and more centralized on this earth plane, whereas the near-death experience was not centralized to the earthly plane at all, like not anything to do with the earthly gravity field. I'm here to talk about these experiences, perhaps for those who may relate to this, and just to share with you how there needs to be this awareness so that hybrids, potentially like yourself, or advanced starseeds, don't try to fit themselves into a box of spiritual dogma that just doesn't fit them. That is just not the reality. The next example that I will share, usually people use astral traveling to check out details or visit their past lives and things like that. But when I visit past lives, or when I intend to connect with my parallel lives, it's rarely ever been a physical incarnation. So the first time I ever tried a past life regression, I found myself as this plasmic field of energy around Arcturus, and it wasn't a physical incarnation. It was literally a plasmic field of light. And I honestly didn't understand that when I visited. I was like, what is wrong with what I'm doing? But then when I really tuned in and figured out what that was, it was the Boots constellation, the Arcturian star. And I'm just a plasmic energy around that on a parallel life. And so, yeah, this is something that I think openly needs to be discussed, because everyone is always pretending like your incarnations are just physical. Could be confusing to people who are not that. I feel that the way that people have categorized and been teaching astral traveling is relevant for some people, but not all. And the way that I perceive it, through the astral field, you usually take on, you can still carry through all of your distortions and all of your egoic templates through the astral field. It still can exist over there. That's why it is a little bit dangerous. And the visions and the insights that you get from the astral plane, for that reason, could be highly distorted. And this is what I see a lot of channels and spiritual healers doing this. When they're astral traveling, astral projecting, or just interacting, getting information from the fourth dimension and the astral plane, it's highly distorted. It's high-level false light templates, and it's kind of unfortunate to see that majority of the spiritual community, that's what they're doing, and people just unfortunately buy into those teachings and buy into the information that is channeled through that state. It's it's full of entities. It's full of, shadows, demonic fields, and I'm not trying to install fear, but that's just the truth of what it is. Like, I'm not saying that it's scary. I'm not saying that it shouldn't exist. I'm just saying that's what it is. And so what I also see the people doing for the sake of doing it is when they're astral traveling, they love to tell these stories about like, oh yeah, I went here and I went there and I saw this and there was this detail and I was this, I went to here. But to me, when you truly travel interdimensionally and you truly commune with that dimensional consciousness, the way that we relate to reality simply becomes irrelevant. So I really am just like, if you truly went to a higher dimension, like a 10th dimension, and you could recall these details about the identities that you had and this and that, I'm like, you didn't actually touch that dimension. That's just an astral hallucination. Because when you actually get into that state of consciousness, the way that you process data and the way that you exist there, it's not really translatable to a way that we can understand. Like, for example, I talk about synesthesia in the previous video. That's kind of the experience that you would have, and it will kind of leave you speechless about how to describe the experience that you had. But people who astral travel and they have all these great stories to tell, they're maintaining their level of human cognition as they are traveling interdimensionally, and I just don't see a point in that. You will just transcend this level of cognitive processing if you actually touch a higher dimension. But in the astral realm, it is possible to completely stay connected to the human dimension and the human level of cognition. That's why, for example, like, yeah, if you're working for the CIA as a remote viewer, that is necessary to have that egoic template and that cognitive processing, because you have to get certain details and have a very strong agenda that is external to your soul, right? So all good for them, but for spiritual healers and spiritual channels, like, it doesn't make that much sense. I mean, you can get psychic information by interfacing with higher dimensions, but that's very quite different because you're processing it and reading it from a different intention and knowing all of these limitations and not necessarily projecting yourself astrally. So majority of the people who project themselves astrally to a different galactic system or all of that and bringing in all these detailed information, they're not actually resonating on that plane of dimension where it is truly that higher dimension. They're still plugged into their human cognitive ego. So please watch out for those channels who claim to like do all of these things and, you know, get all these details and have all these specific. When I actually go into a higher dimension, interdimensionally travel, I don't have words, babe. No words. No, like, it's just a field of existence, field of vibrating in that frequency of that geometry and that light wave, and there's nothing to say. Okay, so I will give other examples. So people astral travel to visit their past lives and all of that. All great if you have a lot of human incarnations, but for those advanced starseeds who don't have that many physical incarnations, for example, the very first past life regression that I ever had was very confusing and puzzling because the healer was asking, what do you see? What life is this? And all I could see was this red plasma. And I was this red galactic plasma around Boots constellations. So that's an Arcturian star system. So in my past life, I was this plasmic field of light of Arcturian star system. And for a while, I just couldn't make sense of that because nobody taught me this. Nobody told me any of this. And I obviously believe the traditional spiritual teachings of humans. And that's why I'm here talking about my experiences. So if you're one of those people who transcend these astral planes, then you can have a reference to this. And I found out years later that plasmic field of light was Arcturus, and that makes sense to me that I'm part of the Arcturian star consciousness of the Boots constellation. The second quantum hypnosis that I had, also the therapist was asking me, hey, like, what do you look like? What are you wearing? But I was this non-physical field of energy, and I was localizing into the planet of Venus because I'm affiliated with the planet of Venus, the planetary logos of Venus. And when she was asking me, like, what I'm wearing, what am I doing? And I'm like, I don't know how to say this to you, but I'm dematerializing through the inner portal of Venus and lowering my density and lowering my frequency so I can interact with a group of these hybrids. So, I didn't even know if I can say that to her, but eventually I just told her, like, I'm non-physical. But I mean, these are the experiences that we have, and we have to accept it and honor it so that we, have our own understanding of what's going on instead of these dogmatic teachings of the astral fields and all of that. And again, I will highlight it is possible to travel interdimensionally, and that is more preferable than simply following these dogmas of astral travel. And the people who teach astral traveling, the processes, if you're not actually wired through that traditional way of human system, and you're hybrid, you're either a hybrid or like a very high level starseed that doesn't have that many earthly incarnations or physical incarnations, if you're mostly non-physical being from your soul level expressions, then it's going to be dangerous to try to apply these astral traveling techniques because it is not in alignment with your energy field. So please don't try that. Like all these processes, it doesn't apply to you. So here's my thing with the astral field and astral traveling. It's all good if you enjoy it, if it really works well for you, that's fine. But I feel that, first of all, for a lot of people, it's not that important to astral travel. In a lot of cases, I spoke about synesthesia yesterday. Synesthesia and claircognizance is one of the most effective ways to get the information that you require. Obviously, when there's like a vision that is required, you can get a holographic download. Or again, synesthesia is a very energy efficient way to access information, and claircognizance is a very effective way to access information from other dimensions. And rarely is there a case where you actually need to go into the process of astral traveling and delve yourself into that realm of mixed soup of energies. Like, why would you do that unless it was absolutely necessary? So my stance on it is like, you don't really need to do that or aspire to do that unless somehow it's really relevant for you. I remember there's this one person, this astral traveling master, who approached me, and I can guarantee you anything. A lot of the people who are teaching these methods, they're not entirely pure, and the process that they'll walk you through is not energetically coherent to especially the nature of advanced starseeds and hybrids. And so if you're like trying to learn how to astral travel, I want to ask you, like, why could you get that information from other sources rather than going into the battlefield of dimensions? Like, that's literally a battlefield. And the thing that I don't get, I know there's a lot of remote viewers, very talented remote viewers that can, astral travel and read details. Like, there are remote viewers, especially on a governmental level, that can astral travel, project themselves into a certain location and read the keys to a barcode. Like, that's how precise they are. And all applause to them. That's a great skill, but it's kind of like, okay, that's good for you, but I don't necessarily need that because I'm not working for the CIA. I don't need to read that level of barcode details, and it takes a certain level of distortion to actually navigate through the spiritual realm in that way, because I feel like when you truly touch higher dimensions, the obvious thing to do is exist, and resonate in that dimensional vibrational frequency and bring it back and integrate it, right? So even when I do visit past lives and future lives as these abstract fields of plasmic light, what else is there to do there? It's just like a simple frequency of existence and a level of transcendence that I'm processing. So now I will share with you the truth around, if you're an advanced starseed, if you're a hybrid, what can you do to travel interdimensionally? What can you do to touch those higher dimensions? And what I'm about to tell you is that this is very natural to you. This is not something you have to learn. This is not something you have to train. It is something that is as natural to you as breathing. If you're a high dimensional starseed, a high level advanced starseed, and an extraterrestrial hybrid, whichever one that you fit into, interdimensional travel is in your core. So what you actually have to focus on is grounding. What you actually have to focus on is earthly matters, where you're here right now. What you actually have to focus on is presence. And you will notice that once your energetic field is coherent, vibrating on this realm, all those gifts and abilities of interdimensional travel that is as natural to you as breathing will activate when it's relevant. But don't try to force it when it's not relevant. When you're meant to be focused on grounding, which is more of a foreign activity to you than astral, like than interdimensional traveling, it is actually the grounding process of to the earth, for example, as a human vessel is more foreign to you than interdimensional travel. So focus on that part. Focus on grounding, focus on creating a structure, focus on what it feels like to have that high density consciousness through this human cognition. And when it is relevant, you will interdimensionally travel with full sovereignty like that. As if you're a fish or a dolphin that has been living in a mountain for like all your life, and then somebody plops you back into the water and you realize you can swim. That's literally like your abilities of interdimensional travel. So don't worry about activating that. Just focus on this present earthly incarnation and how strange and wonderful it is. How crazy is this thing? Like, what is this, but there's one thing that I do want to highlight deeply, and I'll go into this in another transmission further along the road, but it is very important whenever you are channeling higher energies or connecting with other dimensions to activate your heart field. And you will notice I do this with every single transmission and activation. Any energy session that I perform, I go through this process of getting into your heart field, which is the neutral 0-point field. The fulcrum of your entire existence is your heart, the balance of your heart. Then connect with the core of the earth and the gravitational fields above that. So it could be a black hole, but usually as an earth is a very sovereign portal to your next level portal. So connecting with the earth is enough, but I'll go into a more depth of how to ground, and I'm going to make this whole video about how to ground, and you're going to get more information around that. First, but for now, focus on getting into your heart space, grounding your energy to the core of the earth. Make sure that connection is established, and then connect with your source field. Connect with your source and strengthen that connection pillar of sovereign light just between you and source. And from there, come back into the heart space. That is the integration of the heart, earth, and sky that amplifies and activates this sovereign field where no intrusions can penetrate. So when you resonate with the field of your heart and that toroidal field is activated through the earth and through your source field, it creates this omnidimensional, omnipotent, divine protection through any dimension that you will visit and through any energetic work that you're about to do. So that is the layer of protection that is absolutely necessary. And not enough people do this, but it is very important. As an additional practice, if you like to do visualization of light blasting through your field after your sovereign connection with earth, sky, and heart, you can also do that. But personally, I like to emphasize the power of the heart's toroidal field as that impenetrable shield. And so that when you're traveling through or when you're channeling energies through the dimensions, that you're not intruded by external like astral forces or demonic entities or, these like, just get out, just no, like not welcome. And I see tons of channels who do their work, tons of spiritual workers who do their work that don't maintain this clear field. They eventually become so distorted and shady. So please make sure to have that sovereign connection with your divine self and invoke that protection. And that's one of the ways that you can truly make sure that your field is pure. Okay, I hope that this video has been helpful. Thank you so much. If you want to check out all the other videos of this 24-day transmission and activation, check out the playlist below. It's free for the entire 24 days of activations and transmissions. And tomorrow I will share with you an energy session for deplugging from all of your false astral templates, all the false light templates and the cords through the astral field, and plugging you right back into your source field through your sovereign connection. See you in the activation.